Okay, so Caterpillar clutch video 8. I'm going to talk about the steering clutch valve body. The steering valve. This thing right here. Okay, so these hook up to your linkage. So in the machine, you'd have your pipes coming off each side, going down into the clutches, and these two ears would be hooked to the linkage rods going up to your clutch controls on the dash. These had a lot of play in them. This shaft would move like, I don't know, between an eighth and a quarter inch in and out of this housing. I tore this whole thing down, polished up the spools inside, which are basically just little pistons inside a cylinder. When I say polish them, I mean I used some 1000 grit sandpaper with some WD-40, 1000 grit, and just very lightly sanded them. But these were a little loose and had backed out a bit and had allowed there to be slop in these shafts. So when I just took a socket and pounded these back in place a little bit and kind of dug around with some picks to get all the dirt and the crap out, these are much better seated now, and now there's no slop. And this was like flippity floppity all over the place, and it still has like this free play area back here, but I think that's okay. This one doesn't really have that. It has a little bit of that. But when I put like a set of channel locks on these and rotate them forward toward the dash of the machine, now they do have an equivalent amount of action and springed tension action. Okay, so these also are on this end. So these are where your pistons, okay, so you got two pistons in the valve body, one for each clutch. These pistons open and close and send fluid out the side of the valve body. This would be the right side, which is activated right here. So there's a cylinder in there, and when this moves, when you rotate it forward, it opens that up and disengages the clutch. And same thing for this side. So I took this apart and put it back together, I don't know, half a dozen times, and was never really happy with it and thought I might have to get a new one. But it turns out all I had to do was just kind of clean this up, clean up the crap out of here, and just tap on them with an equivalent size diameter socket and push those back in there. Now, would it be a good idea to just dig all that stuff completely out of there? Dig those, there's a snap ring in there. Yeah, it might have been a good idea to have just taken the snap ring out and gotten some new parts, but I think it's going to be okay. I'm not sure how long this unit's been in here. It's probably the original one to the machine, and these have probably never been messed with in 50 years. Who the hell knows? I doubt it. But when I reset these and tapped them in, and they went in, a good eighth of an inch or 16th of an inch. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it's made a hell of a difference. Now, when I put channel locks on this, I have an increased range of motion under tension. This feels right, this feels right, they feel matched now. It wasn't that way. All right, I don't know if this is going to fix my problem. It's just one area that definitely needed some attention. The pistons inside here are all cleaned up now, polished up. They're not hanging up. Everything's clean inside. It wasn't that dirty, wasn't that funky. I don't know that they were hanging, maybe just a little bit. Definitely had, kind of similar issues in the transmission with the speed control valve and the directional control valve. Those valves definitely needed polished a bit. Didn't take much. And so I think these, it's not unlikely that they could have benefited from a bit of polishing. And so between the polishing and knocking these back in so that the springs that butt up against here and create the tension in those pistons to hold those valves closed until you activate them and open them up and send fluid pressure to either clutch. It just wasn't working properly. There wasn't enough tension and enough range of motion there. So I think we're going to be in good shape now with these.